Thank you, and I know that we sort of be coming to the end here, so I'd like to introduce our next speaker. Suzanne I met Suzanne a while back, and what I do know about Suzanne is she's one of the only authors here today. There was going to be another author who couldn't make it, unfortunately, but we will keep that for our next event. But for this event, Suzanne, and I must say that I haven't read any of your books, okay? Because I watch video.
He watches video.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I've actually never read anything. You see, my take on books is that I've got lots of friends, and I've got a clever brother, and I've got clever children. So when I need to know something,
you ask them.
I ask them. So tell me about the book. And people will then tell me about the book. So it saves me a whole lot of time. So now I trust that you're going to tell me a little bit about your book today as well.
I'll talk a little bit about it.
Okay, good. See, then I don't. Well, over to you, Suzanne. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Good afternoon. And I'm not going to talk a lot about the book. In fact, I wouldn't have spoken about it at all if you hadn't mentioned it. But Chris and I recently wrote a book. We've written a couple of ebooks, and this is one that we published. And we published a book geared at a market that we don't really want. So I can really relate to your story. Because we have a passion, and Chris and I have a passion to grow 7,000 African entrepreneurial millionaires by the end of 2017. And that's from the ground, somebody starting with nothing, to becoming a bona fide after-tax millionaire in their own right. But in order to do that, we need money. So the only way to get money is to approach corporates and train them on how to look after their people. I love all the training and all the education that's available, and the word I dislike the most is, where is Yaku? It's human resources. Humans are not dug out of the ground. They are not put through a mining process. They are not manufactured, literally. They are not a resource. They are humans. But who has the money for training? And that's corporate. So Chris and I wrote a book called Put the I Back in Team. I am so tired of hearing that there is no I in team. If you've got 5 people in your team, you have 5 I's, and the person looking after them is an even bigger I. Because they want those 5 people to do what they want so that their I is fulfilled and that they grow. So we wrote a book that teaches executives, high-flying executives, how to identify what each person's I is and what their dreams and goals are, and how they can find a way to align some of those goals and dreams for that person so that they actually perform better in a team. If you really, really want to be a rally driver, I heard your hashtag, and you're sitting in an environment where you're told that you're going to drive a smart car for the rest of your life. And you go, okay, well, it's driving. I'm going to drive this smart car because, it's part of the team goal, and I'm going to drive this smart car, and I'm never going to be able to do anything a rally driver does in it anyway, unless you put a rocket up it. But you really, really want to be a rally driver. And it's your love, it's your passion, it's your soul, it's what actually drives you. Every day that you're supposed to do the things to make that smart car better, self-consciously you'll be working against it. And you'll get pulled in, you'll be told, sorry, what is your name? Shane. You'll be saying, Shane, we've had this discussion, and you're going to go. And Shane, you know what the team wants, and you're going to go. Shane, you know better, don't you? And you're going to go. You say, Shane, are you going to do it? And you're going to go, yes, I am. I want the job. And you go out and you try really hard. But you're never going to be successful because it's not aligning anywhere with your passion to drive fast, take corners hard, be outside, go and do off-road. I mean, good luck with a smart car. It's just not going to happen. So this is what we're doing with Put the I Back in Team. But it's not our massive passion. We're good at it. Chris and I teach it. We're great in a corporate environment, but it's not our love. So I'm going to tell you a little story about me. I've been an entrepreneur, and I'm stealing the word activist. Thank you so much. I'm an entrepreneurial activist. I love growing entrepreneurs, and all my life, in all the different businesses I've been in, I've grown other people and helped them become millionaires, which is great, only I never charged them and I didn't take a share. So I just thought, what am I doing here? But I loved doing it, and it was while I was growing my own businesses. I had my first paper round when I was 7, and I became a mum at 7. My mom and my stepdad were involved in the 3-day week in the recession in the UK, which meant if you had a job, you had to share it with somebody else, and you could each only work 3 days a week in the manufacturing industry. So my mom had 2 or 3 other jobs, cleaning, working in the pub, as well as being a bookkeeper and an accountant in order to pay the bills. So when my half-brother arrived, I was mum. So it was a very big awakening for a girl of 7. But my parents also liked to do lots of other things that was pretty prevalent in that era. They liked to drink a lot, they liked to party a lot, they liked to smoke a lot, and there often wasn't any food. We didn't have electricity, we didn't have gas, and I lived in England. I mean, you tell an audience in South Africa, I grew up without electricity for 2 years, they look at you like you're a little bit weird. But it's the truth. So I got a paper round. I sold chips and sweeties. I got my first job at 11 because, surprisingly, at 11, I was tall. I was 5'3", and that was tall for 11, and I didn't grow. But at 11, I looked 15. I mean, it was crazy. I was going to be this really tall kid, but that was it. I stopped growing at 11, and that was it. But at 11, I was the height of the average 15-year-old, so I got my first job working in the equivalent of a Chinese shop, and it was always called a market shop in the UK. They sold everything, shoes, bric-a-brac, clothes, and depending on what was in the container was what you sold that week. There was no such thing as, come back next week, we'll have some more. And my absolute saving grace was that at 15, my mum and my stepdad emigrated because life was really tough. And we came to South Africa, and it was the first time in my life I knew what it was like to not get up in the morning, do all the housework, do the washing, make sure that what was going to be for supper was either in the fridge or I was buying it that night, and do all the washing, the ironing. I mean, ironing. Just ironing and me don't get on. I would rather wash a toilet with a toothbrush and no gloves than do the ironing. And I came to South Africa. I just don't like ironing. When you start ironing at 8 for a family of 4, you don't like the ironing. I didn't get on with my mum. And so I did what every sensible 17-year-old girl does at the time. I leave school, get pregnant, and get married in that order, which was a big mistake. But at 17, you don't know better. I found Prince Charming. He was a real toad. And I stayed married for 8 years. I mean, it's not a sensible thing to do. But I found myself as a single mum of 3 at 26 with no matric, no money. I'd always been selling stuff. The only thing I never sold was AMC classic pots because I'd never met anybody that tried to get me to sell them. I'd sold Tupperware, I'd sold juices, I'd sold watches. If there was something in multi-level marketing to sell, I'd sold it, apart from pots. But I realized that I was just a born entrepreneur. But what did I know how to do? What did I know how to get? I got a lucky break and I got into the ad industry when I was 26. I was very bold and brash. I wanted to put a multimedia advertising machine at the airport, which was touchscreen, that would tell you about tourism, that would advertise restaurants. So I went to the only guys that did it, and I talked them into letting me do this. And they couldn't believe that I'd done it. How did you get us to put this in? I mean, it bombed. I mean, the technology was awful in those days. I was just there to sell, getting it into the airport. But I'd done such a good job that the company I sold it to get it into the airport said, come and work for us and learn about the airport space. And I was good. I was great. And I worked in the corporate environment for 9 years. And then I decided that the boys were getting paid 3 times more than me. I performed every year. They did give me a bonus, and they didn't give me a bonus when they felt like it. So I left the corporate world, saved 3 years first to sit out a 1-year unpaid restraint of trade. And I opened my own media business called Airport Media. I did it with a business partner, and she and I employed 5 women, and we took on the boys, because outdoor advertising is just a big boys' club. went all out to win a huge tender, massive. I mean, we were the favourites. We got ourselves a BEE partner. We were just odds on. There was nothing we couldn't lose, we couldn't miss. 5 o'clock, still had faxes in those days. You would get faxed who won what. And we just knew. We had creamed it. Nobody was going to touch us. We were the best in the country. 5 o'clock came, no fax, no phone call. 5:30, no fax, no phone call. Phoned around to the other guys that attended. No faxes, no phone calls. 10:30 that night. We had balloons, we had aeroplanes, we had a cake, we had champagne, we had Tattinger. They went, I'm really sorry, you've been disqualified. We'd borrowed money against this. We had about a month's left of money left to go. I mean, I just love your story about no petrol in the car. And we thought, what do you mean we've been disqualified? They said, well, your BEE partner is a listed company. We've actually had the JSE in here today, and they cannot quantify the actual black shareholding because it's a listed company on the stock exchange. You're out. And we were devastated for a few days. We had absolutely nothing. And we sat down and we said, right, let all the guys put all the stuff in, and when it's finished, we'll see what's left and what we can do. And Debbie and I created a business that turned over 550 million rand in 9 years because we stopped competing. But it wasn't fulfilling. I mean, I was good at it. It was great. I put my kids through school. I stayed single for many years. I hadn't met Chris then. I wasn't following my purpose. I wasn't following what I wanted to do. I was pretty unhappy, and I sold the business and I got a stack of money. But I was not good at keeping money. I didn't blow it, not on myself. I wasn't worth any money. I wasn't good. I was great at making money for everybody else, but I felt that I was completely unworthy of money because I'd grown up with that blueprint of we don't have money, our family is poor, you have to make do, and if you've got, you should give. So I managed to give a lot away to very, sadly, unworthy people. And Chris and I had got together, got married then, and we'd been given an opportunity to bring out a guru to South Africa. And we thought, this is it. We're going to bring out gurus. I mean, I've been into self-development all my life. I didn't get an education at school. I've been reading these books, and I've been thinking, this is brilliant. I'm going to bring one out. And we brought out a Canadian gentleman called Bob Proctor. But we made the one fundamental mistake, my sole and only ever entrepreneurial mistake. We used our own money. And it was a lot of money. And it was millions of rands. And it was millions and millions and millions of rands. And it bombed. We were 18 months too early. And we lost 5 million rand. We lost our home. We lost all our pretty things because we had to sell everything to pay people we owed money to. There was no ways that we were going to not pay if we had things. But it was huge. And the guy sat us down and he said, yeah, you made a mistake. You should have done this. You should have done that. And it's kind of like very kind of off the cuff. And we started to get an education because what he did do, even though we lost millions of rands bringing us out, was put us into contact with all these guys around the world. And Chris and I studied, and we invested more money. And we studied even more to find our purpose, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful because I know what I want. And I'm grateful that I invested 7 million rand in me, finding Chris. It's money that we've had to start again. We've had to start again living with family. We've had to start again by deciding what is really important. Can I go back to a corporate? Can I go back into the ad industry? Can I go back to a media owner? Can I go and get some ridiculous salary of 170, 200,000 rand a month in the media world? Yeah, I can do that. I can buy another car, I can buy another house, but I will be empty. So I'm grateful that I now know that I am worth lots and lots of money. That all the money we attract now in the work that we do now, I'm worthy of that money because I respect money, I respect what money can do. And most of all, I respect myself. And there are times this year where Chris and I have sat and said, we can't do this anymore. We've got to go and get another job. And you sit there and you go, I can't do that. I cannot go and do what I don't want to do. So we are grateful to be able to speak to young people. You're my passion. I'll go and train this lot over here. But you are my passion. Because I don't want you to get a job. And I don't want you to have a job. And I don't want you to have a job. And I don't want the little guy behind you to have a job. And I definitely, at 15, don't want you to ever have a job. Because a job will leave you just over broke. And it will not give you your passion. A job won't make you rich. You don't get paid so that you can get rich by your boss. Your boss will pay you to make him rich. Because that's how it works. And it doesn't matter if you're an A-plus student, and it doesn't matter if you're an A-minus student, and it doesn't matter if you're a B-plus student, and it certainly doesn't matter if you're a C student, because most A-plus, A and B students work for the C-plus entrepreneur. Because it's the entrepreneurs that employ the overachievers. And you look at the workplace today, every day we read in the press about how this company's cutting this many jobs and how that corporate is cutting this many jobs and this industry is wiping that many jobs off through technology and innovation and really through the absolute greed of shareholders to want more from less. They want less costs, more production. Less people, more productivity. Less people, more profit. So who's going to make Africa successful? Not big companies, entrepreneurs. Guys like Jono with Jono's business. To me, Jono's biggest success will be if his business grows to employ even 5 people. Because if every entrepreneur like Jonine's business employs 5 people, look at how many families that impacts on. And those 5 people are off the street. Crime's not an issue for those 5 people. And it works in the same way. So I don't want you to have a job. Your goal must be to employ at least 5 people doing what you love. Rally team, you're probably going to make it about 10 people at least. Your success in life is to be the most successful you want to be and take some people with you. I'm grateful for all the money I've lost. I'm grateful for all the tears I cried this year, and there's been buckets of them because it's been tough. And you've got to decide, how badly do I want to succeed? There's a wonderful story where a young man went to a very successful man and said, I want to be as successful as you. I want to be as rich as you. I want to do as much good as you. I want to do even more. Will you show me how? And he said, yes, I'll show you how. You meet me here tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. We're going for a walk. I thought he's obviously going to teach me while we're walking. Anyway, they went for a walk and they were walking through some words and this guy never said a word. And the guy said, okay, I'm not going to say anything. He's a young man. You know, this is my guru. And they carried on walking, and he never said a word. And eventually they came to a stream, little river. And the man walked into the river up to about his waist, and the young man walked into about his waist, and the man said to him, how badly do you want to succeed? He said, no, I want to succeed. And he took this guy and he shoved his head under the water. And this young man thinking, this guy's crazy, he's crazy, he's crazy. And he kept holding it there, and his arms are flying. And he pulls the guy's head out, and the guy goes, and this guy says to him, when you want to succeed as much as you wanted to breathe, you will be a success. And that's why you've got to find your purpose. You've got to find what drives you. You've got to do what it is that feeds your soul. When you are 100 and on your deathbed, you will not wish that you worked harder, but you will wish that you did the things that you wanted to do and never did. And for that, I'm truly grateful. Thank you.